What's going on, everybody? Welcome to GameFreak. Today we are going to do another Evercade cart re-review, and that cart is the Sydney Hunter Collection. This cart has 4 games on it, and I'm going to go over all 4 of them real quick. I'm not going to go too much into detail on this, but I remember when I did my original review on this, I gave it a favorable review. I believe I gave it a 5 out of 5. But let's see if anything's changed. Let's jump into these 4 games real quick. So the first game on the cart is Sydney Hunter and the Shrines of Peril. Now, if you have ever played Smurf on the Atari 2600 or the ColecoVision, you will see a huge similarity between these 2 games. Basically, what you're doing with Sydney here is you run from left to right, and you have to jump over different obstacles that are in your way, like snakes, ditches, bones. Even if you touch these bones, like this skull here, you die. Now, after you get to the end of the level, you pretty much go through the exact same level again, but more obstacles will be in your way, and you have to dodge more. Sounds easy enough, but you have to have precise jumping because you will die numerous times. It gets kind of frustrating. It's not the funnest of games, but it's not the worst game that I've ever played either. The next game on the cart is Sydney Hunter and the Sacred Tribe. In this one, you are exploring the Yucatan in search of treasure. One night while Sydney was sleeping, a mysterious tribe happened upon him and brought him to their home. Despite insisting he's a guest among them, he's still basically a prisoner. So yeah, you're pretty much just exploring, looking for different treasures and artifacts, while you jump and dodge enemies like bats and spears and everything else. And in this one, you actually get to climb on vines and stuff like that, unlike the previous game. Now, the thing I did not like about this is when you jump, you automatically jump forward. You can't just jump in place, and that got a little frustrating. This was better than the Shrines of Peril, but not by much. The next game on the cart is Sydney Hunter and the Caverns of Death. While exploring Mount Doom on the mysterious Sundial Island, Sydney Hunter, the geologist and adventurer, is trapped inside the mountain. As he ventures deep into the caverns, Sydney finds evidence of human sacrifices used to appease the god of the volcano. Unfortunately for our hero, the volcano god has just awoken from its 1,000-year slumber and now demands another sacrifice. Armed with only his trusty boomerang, Sydney must now use all his abilities to escape from the caverns of death. The last game on the cart is Jester, and this is like a dungeon platformer, kind of like Pac-Man, but you have to go around and pick up like torches, otherwise the screen will go black, and keys. And if you pick up swords, then you can go and pretty much demolish these skulls that are running around. You eat them up just like Pac-Man does the ghosts. This actually surprised me because I wasn't really looking forward to this game. I thought it looked kind of stupid, but it was rather enjoyable. I liked it better than the Shrines of Peril by far, but it does get a little bit repetitive, and you know, I've played Pac-Man enough where I don't want anything that's like Pac-Man that's not Pac-Man, if you know what I mean. This wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great. Alright, so there are the 4 games that are on this cart. And now that I look back, I'm wondering, man, why did I give this a 5 out of 5 to begin with? Because I definitely do not give it a 5 out of 5 now. And the reason being is this. I think I gave it a 5 out of 5 because this was the first time I was ever introduced to any Sydney Hunter games. So it was new to me. It was a fresh, like a clean slate. First time I ever played any of them. And I did really enjoy them. I wasn't a big fan of that Shrines of Peril. Is that what it's called? Yeah, the Shrines of Peril. Not a big fan of that because it did remind me of Smurf. And don't get me wrong, I liked Smurf back in the 80s, but it just doesn't go well today. You know, some of them games that were in the 80s, they're just not good today. They just don't translate to today's modern gaming. And I didn't expect modern gaming coming from Evercade because, you know, it's supposed to represent retro games. And these were very retro, but that was like, I don't know, Shrines of Peril just, no, it just didn't translate well today. Back in the 80s, it would have probably been an awesome game. But the other game was the Sacred Tribe, Sydney Hunter and the Sacred Tribe. Now, I think that game could have been a really good game, but the controls were pretty janky. I didn't like the fact that you hit the jump button and you don't just jump up. You jump forward no matter what. So if there's an enemy in front of you and you jump, you're pretty much dead. So that got pretty annoying. The other Sydney Hunter game was the Caverns of Death. I did enjoy this one. It had everything that the other two was missing, and that was a weapon. You actually had a boomerang. It was really enjoyable. That too got a little bit repetitive, but it was still enjoyable. It wasn't like a annoying repetitive. You pretty much go, you get I think it's like a crystal skull or something, and then you have to run your way back before lava comes up and gets you. Pretty fun game though. That was pretty cool. And then Jester. Jester wasn't really bad for like a dungeon scrolling platformer. It wasn't great either. Like I said, if I want to play something like Pac-Man, I just want to play Pac-Man instead. But I think the thing that killed this cart for me, is I was introduced to a game, another Sydney Hunter game, just recently, and I believe this game came out in like 2018, but they couldn't get the license to put it on this cart. And if this Sydney Hunter that I'm about to show you would have been on this cart, I'd still give it a 5 out of 5. Let me show you what game I'm talking about. Sydney Hunter and the Curse of the Mayan. This game is everything that Sydney Hunter should be. It's a big game. There's a good story behind it. I mean, it ain't like a real technical story or anything, but it's a fun story. And the game itself is fun. The controls are great. And on top of that, you get 3 weapons. You have a whip, you have a boomerang, you have some arrows or spears that you throw. It was just a lot of fun. A lot more exploring in this. Bigger worlds. Just a blast. I loved this game. I wish it was on the cart. It's very unfortunate that Blaze couldn't get the license or the rights or anything to put it on this cart, because it would have made this cart absolutely amazing. And this is probably the biggest drop in grades that I'm going to give any of the carts that I own. Because originally, like I said, I gave this a 5 out of 5, which would translate to an A on my chart. But unfortunately, and again, this isn't a bad cart. I'm not saying that these games suck or anything like that. They're just not as good to me now as they were when I first bought the cart. So unfortunately, I have to give this cart a C, and I think that's pretty fair. Still a fun cart. I do go back and play the Caverns of Death quite often because I do really enjoy that game a lot. But that's pretty much the only game that I play on this cart. So a C, I think, is a pretty fair grade. So hey, I want to thank you guys for joining me tonight. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps out the channel a lot, and I greatly appreciate it. And until the next video, game on, everybody.